that you need to know about your heart health and cholesterol levels. Joining us now is the Nutrition Mythbuster, Dr. Jonny Bowden. Welcome back to Bloom, Doctor.
It is a delight to be here as always. Please call me Jonny. Nice to see you again.
All right, so Jonny, it's so good to see you too. Tell us about what we're myth-informed about.
Well, if you had an hour, we could really get into it. There's an awful lot of myths having to do with nutrition. And the one that I guess I'm the most passionate about is the demonization of fat, which has put us on a pathway where we're just 88% of us are metabolically unhealthy. And that's in the literature, it's in the research, and it's really because we're eating this stuff, which is what we were told is healthy, the vegetable oils, the corn oils, the canola oils, the soybean oils, the macaroni and cheese, the cereals, the buns, the breads, and we're not eating very healthy foods that we were told not to eat, like fats from nuts, from butter, from eggs, from Malaysian palm oil, and all of these wonderful vegetables. You don't see any processed foods here. Actually, this is the stuff that's giving us heart disease, and that's what we talk about in the book, The Great Cholesterol Myth. It was never saturated fat. We've got 10 years of research now showing that saturated fat is not causing us to die or to get heart disease.
Yeah, I think
so we need to really think about that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think a lot of people don't realize that good fats are a lot like water. They actually flush through your system. Your body knows how to digest a good grass-fed butter. It knows how to digest a good olive oil or the fat from a nut. But it doesn't know what to do with that other stuff, so it just starts to deposit in our bodies, and then it starts to make us sick. And I think, to your point, a lot of this has to do with what people call greenwashing, where they make us think it's healthy, but it's actually not.
You're doing my whole bit. You're fantastic, and I take you on the road with me.
Yes.
Most people don't know what you're saying. And what you're saying is 100% true. It's actually what I come on these shows to talk about. So these white oils are pro-inflammatory. We are an inflamed nation. It is part of every chronic disease, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, you name it. We need to get away from inflammatory foods. Now, here's a perfect example. The American Heart Association just a few weeks ago put out new guidelines, and they demonized tropical oils. They said, no, eat this stuff, which is the worst thing you can do, and don't eat tropical oils. Let me just pick one that was picked on so unfairly, Malaysian palm oil. It's red because it's loaded with nutrients like carotenoids. It's sustainable. It's not inflammatory. Now, I'm not saying it's anti-inflammatory, but it doesn't contribute to inflammation the way this does. Same thing with grass-fed butter, which you mentioned, and eggs that are pasteurized. And I didn't put out meat, but grass-fed meat belongs in this category as well. What doesn't belong in the category of foods that give you heart disease, that don't give you heart disease, are the cereals, the breads, the pastas, the sugars, the crackers, the baked goods. They're making us sick, fat, tired, and depressed. This stuff isn't.
You know, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, so many folks are getting on the plant-based craze, and I'm one of them, but I think that's another area that we need to be careful in, because there's so many processed foods in that arena as well that are not good for you, when if you're going to go plant-based, you need to eat the real deal.
I couldn't agree more, and I wrote an article. I invite everybody to look it up online. It's free. It's right there. It's called The Plant-Based Scam. And what I meant by that was simply that we have, if you go to Whole Foods and read the ingredients on their plant-based vegan pizza, you will see what I mean. You can make junk foods that don't have any animal products in them. That doesn't make them not be junk foods. And one of the reasons I talk about these so much is that the reason these foods have been demonized, the reason you've been told never eat an animal product, even a healthy one that comes from humanely raised grass-fed, don't ever eat animal products. Why? Because it raises your cholesterol. Well, this is what we have found out in the last 10 years. There's 13 different kinds of cholesterol. It doesn't come in 2 flavors. That's 1963 medicine. LDL cholesterol, there's 12 different types, and they behave differently in the body. And when you eat more saturated fat, what actually happens is the good kind of LDL, the big buoyant molecules that don't do damage, they go up, and the nasty little atherogenic particles go down. So saturated fat is not the enemy, and tropical oils are not the enemy.
I'm so glad you cleared this up for us, Jonny. It's so great to talk to you, as always. Thank you for coming on Bloom.
Oh, well, thank you for being the greatest interviewer ever. You know this stuff. It's wonderful. Thank you.
You're so sweet. Thank you, Jonny. For more information, you can head to JonnyBowden.com. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this.